All right, we are recording. Hi, guys. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Sarah Reinecke, and good friend of Jamie's. And I know Jamie works with Megan, so there's some of you that could be from Megan's team and some from Jamie's. And I've not ever really done trainings and things with them, but I'm really excited to hear from them in the next couple of weeks because they are some bad mama jamas in Lead the Way. So in this, and those of you that know, I'm in Missouri, and I've been in this business about, 6.5 years. And I love it. And the reason that I wanted to do this training on sales, I'm just going to be super transparent. I've done it 6 years. And when I first started, we were told all the time, like, you really don't sell, you just share. We just share. We're shares people, which was really cute and made us kind of, tiptoe around the idea of sales. But in turn, we really are selling. And I think we have a lot of volunteer army that hasn't been trained in sales. My husband has been in sales for, his whole career, and every job he's ever had, they have tons and tons of sales training, so I just think it's a place that we've been lacking. So before we get too far in, I want to do a little exercise. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and you can write this down just on your paper first, if you would. When I say the word, I'm going to give you a word, and then I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and I want you to write down all the words that come to mind when I say this word, okay? The first words that come to mind. 30 seconds. Christmas. Write out all the words that come to mind when I say Christmas. Ten seconds. All the words you can think of. Okay. So over in the chat, throw me some over there. What are words that comes to mind? Just throw it in there. Gifts, Santa, stockings, trees, lights, family, mangers, church. Oh, wait, Michelle. Right. You're a teacher. I know what that means, right? Love it. Family, gifts, decorations, tree, Christ, food, family. Love it. So all those are super positive besides the money and broke. The teachers are like, oh my gosh, it's Christmas again. How am I going to pay for this? Been there. Okay. So I want to do this exact same exercise again with a different word for 30 seconds. Okay. This time the word is salesman. Go. All the words that come to mind when you think of salesman. All right, throw them in the chat. What comes to mind when you think of salesman? Pushy, pitchy, there we go. Annoying, bothersome. What else? Womanizer. Whoa, watch out, Leslie Fitzgerald. Beer, Coke, Pepsi. Oh, salesman, okay. Fat guy, short. Man, why they gotta be fat, Amy? Short tie, savvy, relatable, okay. Upsell, market, promotion. So you get what I'm saying. Like when we say the word Christmas, everybody's like Santa, Jesus, mangers, right? We see salesmen, and do we have like a positive image in our head when it comes to sales? We just don't. So it always makes me wonder why. And so what are some other, back to the chat, think about some people that you know that are in sales. What are some respectable, because I think all these really negative words, it's talking about that one like used car salesman that may not even exist, like was probably in a movie we watched one time, But think about some other sales professions that you know. Throw them in the chat that you have friends that are in sales, like the Coke and Pepsi. Yeah, I have friends that are in that industry. What about pharmaceutical sales? What about realtors? What are some other professions that are in sales that you highly? Cosmetic counters, totally. And really, when you think about financial advisors, and I used to think when I was a teacher that I'd never been in sales. Heck yeah, I was selling, verbs and adjectives, infinitives, conjunctions, complex sentences to eighth graders, I dare you guys to sell that to eighth graders, any of you, to make, I remember distinctly having oh my God, tomorrow I have to teach compound and complex sentences to eighth graders. Like, how in the world am I going to make this interesting, right? That's sales. So if you have those negative connotations in your mind about sales, that is called the drunk monkey multiplier. This is where I need like the board behind me. This is what I mean by the drunk monkey multiplier. So you're picturing yourself like, oh my gosh, Reineke is going to, expect me to go out and sell something. So in your mind, that you are going to be talking to this person and that they are going to think you're an idiot and that you're pushy, all those negative things over there. You're just like, your brain wants to protect you from hearing the word no or being uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form. So you create this story in your head. Not just a drunk monkey, but a drunk monkey multiplier, meaning like they're going to think I'm an idiot. They're probably never going to talk to me again. They're going to ignore me when they see me at Target if I reach out to them about skincare. Like, you create this giant story in your mind, which in real life isn't really happening. You see what I'm saying? Like, we create that. And I have been there, and I still have those issues in my mind whenever I do my own reach outs and things like that. And here's the Mel Robbins. If you guys don't follow her, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have you guys read that? The 5-second rule. What I love about Mel Robbins and what she talks about with this is our brains are scientifically wired to keep us from harm. Okay. So I don't know if you guys saw yesterday, I literally climbed a mountain yesterday, 400 feet in the air. I don't even know how I got to that activity out in Salt Lake City. It was the scariest thing I'd ever done. My brain was on high gear saying, Sarah Reineke, this is not smart. You're 41. You are not fit. You haven't worked out in a month, let alone like these other girls that you're with. You're too old. You're not smart enough. You aren't capable enough. Like, you're going to die. Don't do it. This is my brain, right? You guys understand? That's doing something scary on a cliff. But what does your brain say before you do a reach out or before you think you're going to be in sales? They're never going to talk to you again. If you reach out to them, they're going to find you annoying. Don't do it. Your brain is hardwired to keep you from being uncomfortable. That is a fact. And to me, just understanding that science, it's fascinating, and there's power in that. So if you know for sure that your brain is going to do this to you, and it's with good intentions, your brain's not there to hurt you. Your brain is there to keep you from harm. I still got on that mountain and climbed it, even though my brain was like, I feel like I told you this is not a good idea, right? But I did it anyway. The same thing goes with sales. So before you say something to that girl next to you at the beauty salon, or you send that reach out to that girl from high school, your brain's going to say, don't do it every time. It still does it to me 6.5 years later. So it's going to happen to you too every time. And it's going to keep happening. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you know it, you're not shocked. So what you have to do is you have to train your brain to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and do it anyway. You have to train your brain to shut its mouth, and you have to press that gas pedal at the red light, and you got to do it over and over again. But you can't go back into sales thinking that feeling is going to go away, because I still get it. I still get nervous. I still have that feeling. It's your brain is trying to keep you from harm. Okay. And I love another thing that she says, and she's got a great YouTube video about this, to picture the winning scene. So before I got on that mountain yesterday, I had to picture myself at the top of the mountain, like doing the power pose, and he's like, flex your muscles. And I'm like, I am. Like, this is as good as it gets. Like, I don't want to hear about it. But I had to picture myself up there. So same thing with your sales calls and things that you're doing. I have to, before I do my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I picture the scene at their Mercedes event at the microphone saying, I am so thankful Sarah Reineke reached out to me on July 15th, 2019. Because of that, I have a brand new car. Like, I picture the whole scene in my mind. Or I picture I cannot believe how much better my son's face looks, right? He looks amazing. And thank goodness you educated me on what you carry. Like, picture the happy customer, visualize the whole thing in your head, then count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and make the call or send the message. We have to play tricks with our minds, because did you see how all of you were hardwired to think about salespeople? So if you're in sales, which, newsflash, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here, but you're all in sales. You're all selling things. I know. And I use the word pussyfoot all the time. There's probably a much better term for that. Boo, you're a teacher. I don't know, find something better than that word. But tiptoeing around the idea of being in sales. And to me, I've learned to love it. I've learned to love it. Like, it's fun. It balls in my court. The harder I work, the more I get paid, as opposed to teaching, right? I worked really hard and I got paid consistently, but it didn't matter how hard I worked. So the coolest thing about sales is it's in your control, totally in your control. You want a bigger paycheck by Christmas? Then you work harder. You have more conversations. You talk to more people. So one thing you have to be 100% sure of is, do our products work? Heck yeah, they do. I mean, no one can ever say anything negative about that. Products work. Lash Boost works. Our products are number one for a reason. So we should never be self-conscious. If you reach out, what's the worst thing possible? They're already using it. They're not interested. They'll buy it next month. Like, what's the worst possible case scenario about educating your network on what you have? You have to just remember that you don't have a brick and mortar that people can walk in. You have an e-commerce store. So you picture your scene over here and you have 4 regimens, Lash Boost, amp roller, and some radiant defense, and you have a business in a box. So when you go to a coffee shop and they sell all the coffee, but they also have t-shirts and a coffee cup, and they sell coffee, like coffee beans, you have the 4 regimens, all the things, plus a business in a box. Picture a box with the word business on it. Those are all the things that you carry in your store. It is your job in sales to educate people on what you have and to see if that fits a need that they have. It's very, very simple. We overcomplicate it, drunk monkey multiplier, on what we're doing. If we simplify it down, it's just a matter of educating people on what's in our store and does it fit a need that they might have. Very simple. We represent a company with potential solutions to people's needs. Everybody you know in sales is doing the exact same thing. What do we have to offer? All those things. Does it meet their needs? And it's just our job to connect with customers and prospective customers to determine if our solutions meet their needs. If it doesn't, if they have perfect skin and they're not growing older, good for them. Like, that's amazing. Like, awesome. But typically everybody has one of these needs. It's a matter of if it's their priority. And a little tip that I think about all the time, if someone says, oh, they're just too expensive, translate in your mind to them saying, is this worth my money? Pretend like that's what they said. That's what you have to answer. When they say, it's just too expensive, I just can't afford it, they're really saying, what? Is this worth my money? Because what I'm always thinking about is, did you just go to Carrie Underwood concert last night? And those tickets are like $280 a pop. So like, you have the money to do this. Or I look at their purse, I'm like, that a Coach purse? Not cheap. Like, you can see where they spend their money. And that's their choice. And it may not be on skincare, but it's not that it's too expensive. We just have to know that. We're actually low end in the premium skincare world. That's just false. Okay, so here's where we're going to go back over to the chat. So I'm going to give you the top 16 reasons people struggle in sales. Okay, so if you can relate to the one that I'm saying, put guilty, or you can put hashtag me too. We can have our own Me Too movement over there if you'd like to. So guilty, or yep, that's me. So I would love to see where you guys fall in some of these. Well, let me back up one more thing. This is where I've been thinking so much about this lately that I really want to talk about it. And this book right here is where a lot of this stuff came from. Sales is a Craft. This is called New Sales Simplified. And this book right here, The Little Red Book of Selling, really good books. This Little Red Book of Selling, it's almost like a comic book. And I've had it for a long time. It's one you should probably read like every single year. It's really like, it's like a comic book. It's got pictures in it. So if you're not a reader, this is like a picture book. Okay, so Little Red Book of Selling. Awesome, awesome book. So when I've been doing lots of reading about sales lately, here's what I'm coming across. It's been bothering me. When we talk about branding, how many of you have been a little overwhelmed with like, gosh, how do I brand myself? I gotta get my brand out there. Brand. That's all over everything. Branding, right? And I like my branding matrix. I put myself out there. I'm very real on social media, just what I choose to do. But I want you to know you don't have to do that. Stephanie Ashendrop is right above me. She never posts anything. She's super duper private. She has a really great paycheck. But I will tell you, what she does in turn, she hosts at least 2 or 3 events every month. You can't do neither. I have pretty good success with posting, and I always have, but I've got a pretty good following going. But I do not worry about perfect photos. I did not worry about perfect images. Like mine is like real as the day is long, and people, they respect that. I think we're in a real scary place within our company in general on that we are feeling like we've got to be perfect and be so calculated with everything we put out on social media. I think you need to be real. I think you need to be purposeful. But I think we've gotten to a place where we feel like that's more important than going out and educating people on what's in your store. You see what I mean? So you can't, if you want to lose a lot of weight, you can't spend all of your time blogging about losing weight, right? Ultimately, you're going to have to go to the gym and you're going to have to work out and you're going to have to eat more kale, right? Less chips and salsa, more kale. But just blogging and posting about it is not going to be enough to lose the weight. Does that make sense? So I really it's been on my mind a lot. Like I think, and in this book right here, it talks a lot about this, guys. Like all the social media has given us more excuses to not go out and sell something. Does that make sense? Like we're like, well, I'm working on my post. That's if you've got extra time. That's if it's easy for you. That's if you got a little extra time to do it. Does this make sense to you guys? Like, I feel like the working out thing makes a lot of sense. You can't just blog about it and think it's enough to lose the weight. Okay. So I want to just dive into it. Okay. So let's go back to this the not so 16 reasons that some people struggle in sales. The first one is you never knew how. You were never trained on it. You never really had to. You don't really know how to sell. And I think there are some people in this business that have done it for so long, and it was really easy early because no one had ever heard of it. And so they never really had to learn how. Number 2, they're waiting on the company. Oh my gosh. We've heard this a lot lately. Like, well, when the company has a new incentive program, when the company this, when we get our new product, when the company. So if they're waiting on the company, so this is like when you're making a cake and you're out of flour, you go out and buy more flour, right? You don't blame the recipe for being out of flour. Like you solve the problem and you go find the flour. Number 3, prisoners of hope. How many of you have been in this situation where you're like, if Susie signs by the end of the month, I will be EC. As long as Susie signs, right? Like, if so-and-so reorders, or if Susie Q, if she, runs her CRP, I think I'm going to be right at 1,500, right? Prisoners of hope. Michelle? Yes. These things happen. And guys, here's how I look at my revolving orders and my reoccurring orders or my direct CRPs. All that is bonus. In fact, I never even click where where you could say where you can be by the end of the month. I never click it. I never do. All that's bonus to me. I always base everything, and I still do 6.5 years later, on new sales. I got 5 new PCs the last day of the month. I signed a new consultant last month. Becky's on here somewhere, I think. And she signed a $9.95 last month. Like she got after it. Oh, there she is. I see her pretty little face. So you can't be that prisoner of hope of like, oh, if Susie Q signs, she told me at the ball game she's going to buy a regimen, right? And then you're like, that's the worst thing in the world. I heard this tip a long time ago. You never want to put your goals in the hands of any one person. How scary is that, right? You're like, well, Susie, it's the 29th and you said you'd buy a redefined. So, and then you're sitting at home and Susie's at a basketball game having a great life and you're at home miserable waiting on Susie. Don't put that power to any one person's hands. And if you're doing enough lead generation, it shouldn't matter. Number 4, you can't tell the story. Your elevator pitch. I think this is a really huge thing. If someone says to you, what do? Do you know how to answer that like that? So, Boo, I know you're a teacher. And so, this is something when I was teaching full time, I would say I'm a teacher by trade, but I also build a skincare business on the side. Right? So you don't have to say, I'm a teacher and I also have this little side gig. I kind of sell a little regimen every once in a while on the side. Like, well, it's like super duper on the side. Like if you preface it like that, well, I am a nurse, but I also have a little side gig RNF. Like you're like hiding. You're like telling them, please don't buy from me if you hide from it. So if you do have a full-time job, you can say, I'm a blah, blah, blah by trade, but I am in love with building my skincare business. I'm a rep for the #1 skincare company in all of North America. If you say something like that, you don't have to go on forever. But if you have not practiced, guys, I used to practice this in the car. I would practice it with my husband. I would type it out. Like, you got to have that answer to what do you do? And it's got to be quick and powerful. And make sure it's short and sweet to where they're like, really? What is that? Tell me more about it. That's what you want. You want them to say, interesting. Tell me more. You don't want to say, and I am a Rodan and Fields consultant. No, you want to say, I build an international skincare company, or I work for the #1 skincare company in all of North America. Say something quick and savvy like that to where you're like, yeah, I'm awesome. What do you got? Like, short and sweet. Long-winded is not helpful in that area. Number 5, you don't have a targeted list. And this also goes along with you reach out once and they give up. You guys have all heard, like, most people make their decision between the 8th and 12th touch. 8th and 12th touch. So if you've reached out 1, maybe 2 times and gave up, you just set somebody else up for that sale. You're like teed it up, like golf. You know, someone else just came by and was like, thank you very much, made that sale. Between the 8th and 12th touch. I read this quote in here, and it says, successful people have a combo of perseverance, creativity, and resilience, while staying laser focused on a well-chosen finite list of targeted prospects. So whenever you sit down to do RNF, here's the worst possible thing. You're like, all right, it is RNF time. So I'm going to start scrolling the Facebook, looking for people that I may not have talked to. How many of you have done it? Raise your hand. Anybody guilty? Yeah. So you're like, honey, I'm working. So I'm working RNF right now, right? You've all done it. I know. So, but that is the absolute opposite way. In fact, you're hurting your business if you're scrolling like that, because Facebook is like, oh God, she's a scroller. She is just a scroller. It's moving you down in visibility. It's actually not helping you. It's hurting you. When you have time to work RNF, there's 2 things. You should already have your list in front of you. You're like, all right. So one thing you can do is you got to figure out what works for you, but maybe you make your list on Sunday, whatever your number is. I'm reaching out to 20 people this week. Write 20 names down and their phone numbers down. You carry that list with you everywhere you go, and don't let the sun set on Saturday night of the next week until you've talked to those 20 people. That's way more efficient than scrolling Facebook. Does that make sense? So number 5 is no targeted list. Number 6, you wait too long. You know, you wait too long and then they've already bought from someone else. Or, I mean, that's happened to me. Totally. I've chickened out on reaching out to people, and one girl in particular, I saw on Facebook that she joined Rodan and Fields, and I was like, mother of all that's holy. Like, she was on my dream team list. But I was like, well, Sarah Reineke never reached out to her. So I chickened out, and I messaged her, and I was like, girl, I got to tell you, you're on my chicken list. Congratulations. You're going to be great at this. She was a college friend. And she goes, oh my gosh, you totally should have. I would have said yes. And you're like, right? So, I mean, I've done it. I waited too long. So don't procrastinate. Number 7, negative attitude. When I was writing this for last week, I was thinking, like, please tell me none of you posted on Facebook about how noisy those fireworks are on the 4th of July, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, we're like, hey, every year there's going to be fireworks. Like, it's going to happen. We got to know this by now, right? But you know, the people like, oh, the traffic on Range Line can never get, they're like, kid, like, it's 8:35 and they're already complaining about the fireworks, right? You know, the people. Hope it's not you, and you'll forgive me for this. But if you did, like, don't do that, because when you put that stuff out there, that's negative stuff. You might think it. I've had a sleeping baby on 4th of July, and did I want to shoot someone still shooting stuff at midnight? I did. But it's like, she won't be a baby next year. You know, like, we're going to make it through the night. So be really careful about how you're talking, what you're posting, and make sure it's positive. And if it's not going to add value to social media or to that conversation, save it. Gripe to your husband, gripe to your dog, gripe to your kids, but don't put it out on Facebook, because the people buy from people they like. They do. And if you are putting out positive things on social media, they don't want to buy from pessimistic people. They just don't. So make sure, and we can all get in that habit sometimes, and maybe have a friend say, hey, look back at some of my posts. What do you get the feel of things that I post? Because sometimes you do it in a sarcastic way, or, you know, it's kind of just your way of joking, that really can come across negative. Do you have friends like that? I have a couple that do that. Like, it's just kind of their way. But you guys are in sales. So if you're in sales, like, posting about politics, like, I like my Democratic and my Republican customers. I don't know about you guys. So it's not worth it to me to post really divisive things like that, because I don't want to lose a whole section of customers. You know, we have a responsibility. Number 8, you don't know how to pick up the phone, or that phone scares you to death? How many of you are scared to death to pick up the phone and just call someone about Rodana Fields? Does that scare you to death? Isn't it interesting? Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Let me give you a little tip that I learned a long time ago, because it's your best weapon. If you're looking at Sales 101, the very best, most precise, most accurate weapon you have in your arsenal is the telephone. That was the same in 1942, and it's the same right now. Doesn't matter. I will always have respect for someone who picks up the phone and calls me. Hey, here's a great way. Susie, so nice to talk to you. It's been a while. This is actually a business call. Do you have a second? Say something like that at the beginning, and that way they know you're not beating around the bush. You're like, so how are the kids, and how are the dog, and how's how's soccer practice? Anyway, so I want to talk, that's a hard transition. But if you say on the front end, hey, Susie, first of all, could your pictures last week at the wedding be any more gorgeous? Anyway, this is actually a business call. Do you have a few minutes to chat with me? I want to tell you about something. So I don't know if you've seen, but we have a couple new products, whatever's going on. I don't know if you've seen that I partner with the doctors that created Proactive, and we don't have home parties and we don't have to do any of that stuff, but I want to educate you on what I've got so you can help me spread the word. Do you have a second so I can share that with you? If you don't have a need for any of that, do you know anyone that's getting older? Right? So if you've got perfect complexion and you don't need any more money, so if you don't need anything like that, then who do you know? I mean, you can joke like that, but I promise you won't die. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And it's actually the most efficient use of your time. Can you imagine like knocking it all out with one phone call versus messaging them 12 times? To me, I'd rather pick up the phone and just call someone. Truly. Number 9, be likable. You want to connect with the buyer. It's hard to do when we treat everybody the same. So what I mean by that is, if they're a fast talker, talk right fast back at them. If they love dogs, talk to them about their dog. If they love soccer, talk to them about their soccer. Whatever it might be likable and relatable and listen to people. Sales is all about listening to their needs. So when you make that phone call, say, tell me about what you're using. How long have you used that? Are you happy with it? Would you be open to trying something new? Ask some good questions. Be a good listener. That's what sales is all about. You cannot impress them enough with what you know about Rodana Fields to bully them into buying it. The more you're like, I don't know if you heard me. It's the same doctors that created Proactive. Number one in the, none of that stuff, unless they like you and they feel like you're listening to them, they're not going to do it. If that makes sense. Number 10, don't feel comfortable with the 3-way call. It's besides picking up the phone and calling Susie Q, that 3-way call, the ones on my team, I know it's the same for Jamie. She just said this. Those of you that are on Jamie and Megan's team, I'm going to get on that call with Jamie because she's a good old Jersey girl that she said, I knock out 3-way calls in 10 minutes. I never even hardly share my story and I close them every time. I'm like, okay, got it. Right on. I'm going to learn from Jamie Susie how she does this. So those of you on her team, like bring those calls, figure it out. And so if you have not figured out how to bring that 3-way call and use that to your advantage, dig in, search 3-way call in trainings, look in daily experience, search 3-way call, learn that craft. It's the best thing you could possibly do for your business. Number 11, you'd rather babysit existing accounts. That kind of goes back to that, hoping and praying. And you're like, I'm going to work RNFs. I'm going to reach out to Susie who orders every month and be like, you still happy? Oh, good, Susie, you're still happy. Check, worked Rodana Fields. You made no money. So whatever you're doing when you're working Rodana Fields, why don't you try income producing activity, right? Scrolling Facebook, not making any money, promise you. Thinking about it, making a really pretty post, no, it's all secondary. Picking up the phone, that is income producing. Hosting an event, income producing. Those things will bring your paycheck up. Number 12, you're too busy being helpful. I saw this quote in here that said the prizes and the rewards don't go to the people who are the busiest. They go to the people who move the needle the most. So in order to move that needle, you're going to have to do the work, the sales work, right? So if you're, commenting on every single post, that is a nice thing and it's good to do whenever you've got some time. But before anything else, your one thing, your lead generation, your lead domino has to be first. Your paycheck needs to come before commenting on anybody else's posts, right? It's got to come first. Number 13, no process to your sales. It's educate, get a third-party validation, close, welcome call, and repeat. Know what it is you're trying to move them through. What funnel are you moving them through? And number 14, you don't protect your calendar. Time blocking. How many of you have time in your week blocked out for lead generation for your business? Like, heck no, nothing else. I can't go to lunch. I can't do that. I got to work my RNF. I got lead generation time. I'll see a lot of hands, right? So this is the best thing that you can do for your business more than anything else. Even if it's 15 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, whatever it is, everybody can find it. If you want to grow your business, block off time, whether it's 7 to 7:30 in the morning or 10 to 10:30 at night, whatever. When I was teaching school and had a lot of jobs and a lot of babies, it was weird times like that. During my lunchtime, block off time, non-negotiable time to do this income producing activity. You'll be glad. Because sometimes we feel like we're working RNF and just because we're thinking about it. And number 15 is you stopped learning and growing. This one, get it first. Little Red Book of Selling. Get it, get it, get it. In that book, one of them, it said something about, do you expect your doctor to keep reading, to stay up, and your teachers to keep reading, and your nurses to keep reading, on new things? Absolutely, guys. Sales is a craft. You can get better at it. I promise you. And 16, you can't handle the no. The no breaks your heart in absolute 2 pieces. Guys, you got to get hard at that. And it takes a little time to grow calloused. But in my mind, and those of you that don't know me, you're like, she's a hot mess. I am. And I just am like, oh, you're going to be so sad and wrinkly. Like, oh, you're going to wish you'd have said yes. Like mostly everyone who said no to me, a year later, 5 years later, if I had a dime for every person that said, Sarah, you talked to me about this 5 years ago. Man, I wish I would have started doing that skincare. They always regret it. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, you're going to be sad and regret it. I don't say that to them, but I do think it. It's in the speech bubble right up here when they say no. Okay. And I keep them in my funnel. And here's another thing. If they say no to me, I will say, totally fine. Is it okay if I keep you updated on future sales and specials? They always say yes. They go on another list whenever you have sales and specials going on. Okay. All right. So this is a really quick, those are the 16 reasons. So I want you to think about which one of those you're like, yikes, guilty. Which ones you need to hone in on and think about a little bit more. But here are the reason we can all be successful. You got to believe you can. Number 1, you got to know you can do this. Guys, I'm telling you, on that rock yesterday, it was called Via Ferrata, which is an Italian, it's how the Italians crossed the Swiss Alps in World War I. And this is a replica of that in Salt Lake City, Utah. Totally cool. Frightening. But every single time you had to get on a rung, crawl around a rock, and like hoist yourself up to the next rung. And guys, I'm telling you, every single time I would be like, I can't do this. I'm not strong enough. I'm going to either fall to my death, which is really only 10 feet. And so I would just dangle there and probably break a nose or something. So that would be humiliating. People are coming behind me. Someone's in front of me. And I just had to believe that I could and make a choice. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And do that over and over again. And the more I did it, the more I was like, holy crap-a-moly, I can do this. It's the same with picking up the phone. It's the same with sending the message. It's the same with hosting events. The more you do it, the more success you'll have and the more confident you'll be. Am I more confident now 6.5 years later? Heck yes, I am. Just like in the classroom, I said, my first year teaching, they threw me in a room with 24 desks and 24 chairs. I'm like, you're a 2nd grade teacher. Kids are coming in 60 days. I was 21 years old. They didn't even give me a list of things to teach. I figured it out. I wasn't that great the first year. I got better as I went along. So it's okay to do it ugly. Nobody's going to die in the selling of Rodan and Fields. I promise you. No one's going to do it. You got to create the right environment. Guys, this is huge for me. Make your list on Sunday and then have that list right in front of you. Have your phone right there next to you. Turn off your notifications. Like, create an environment that's going to help you be successful. Quiet room. Go to Starbucks. If you've got a crazy house full of kids, get a sitter or your husband. You're like, 30 minutes. I'm going to go to Starbucks. I'm going to work for 30 minutes. Whatever it is, find your spot. Whether it's your music playing, whatever it is, a candle. Whenever my kids go to school, which is, it seems like forever from now, when they're all gone and I have my candle and I have my coffee and I have my Pandora playing on my Christian music and I'm like jamming out. Like, that's my jam. I can work when I've got that going. Figure out what yours is. The right associations, keep making new friends. That is your job. And in fact, Claire said that to me one day. She goes, Mommy, somebody asked me what you do for a living. And I said, I think she makes friends for a living. I was like, guilty. Cool. right? I mean, truly, like I am curious about everyone and I try to make friends and connections everywhere I go. It doesn't always lead to customers or consultants, since that's not the point. That's a perk of this business. Meet new people everywhere you go. When you get your nails done, I always tell myself, like, I'm not leaving this place till I've got a new friend in my Facebook. Be curious about people. Plan for your day. Know when you're going to lead gen. Become valuable, a known resource. You guys are all an expert in something. If you're an expert on cooking, put out a recipe. If you're an expert on gardening, put out gardening tips. Add value to social media. Guys, when I put out the picture of the Unwich, which apparently has been around for a while at Jimmy John's, I thought it was new. I had a girlfriend of mine, I mean, that had a million comments. And she's like, I'm so glad when you put stuff like that out there, because people should know about things like the Unwich at Jimmy John's. I said, it was a picture of the Unwich, right? Like people like to know those things. So if you know something cool, everybody's an expert on different things. If you're a good decorator, you've got good books. I put every book I read, I put it out there. That might be good. Someone might need that. Okay. Have the answers to your prospects. Leslie and I have talked about this several times. Think about what your prospects or your potential customers are thinking. Are they thinking, I've got acne because all your friends are 21? Or are they like, my wrinkles because they're at a certain age, or they've got sunspots because they basked in tanning beds like me? What are they going through? Think about the problems they're facing. Are they facing money issues because they're buying diapers, or because of prom, or because of weddings coming up? Solve those problems in your posts. Recognize opportunities to meet new people and take responsibility for your paycheck. Guys, to me, the best thing about sales is what? You have control over it. The more you work, the more you do, the more you get paid. Not all jobs are like that. I promise you. That's the best part. Take responsibility for your paycheck. It's up to you. Make mistakes, do it ugly. Guys, I did this ugly. I still do it ugly. I still don't know what I'm doing. If you wait until you know what you're doing in this business, it'll never happen. You got to do it ugly and do it anyway. Eye on the prize, whatever that prize is for you. I have learned lately to be a lot more cognizant about what people really want out of this business. Not everybody wants to do what I did. I get that. Some of you, I love my little friend Ardell. I don't know if she's on here tonight, but she said, I want $1,000 to spoil my grandbabies. Cool, right? That's what she wants out of this business. So that's her prize. She thinks about those grandbabies that she wants to spoil rotten. She loves to buy letter jackets for her high school and prom dresses. That's the thing she loves to do as a grandma. Awesome. For some of you, it may be student loans. For some of you, it may be play money. For some of you, it may be like, I got to pay my mortgage money, grocery money, shoe fund. You all have different reasons for doing this. That's the prize you got to keep your eye on. I would put some kind of a symbol or reminder on your phone, on your computer, in your car that's going to be like, I know, I got to get busy. The bathroom mirror, find something that's going to motivate you to keep moving forward. Balance yourself with faith and fitness and your business to where you're like, I'm working RNF in this time and then I'm done. As opposed to telling your people that you're working it all the time and just on your phone all the time. Have a purposeful time when you're working the sales for your business. And stick to it until you win. Guys, 6 years. This did not happen overnight. Stick with it. People come back around. It's, gosh, I look at you, Becky, right now. I talked to you about this 6 years ago. And then suddenly she's like, hey, you want to meet me at Tropical Smoothie and talk about business? Well, 6 years, right? So you just never know. You got to stick with it and stay consistent. Because the last thing you want anyone to do is be like, she's still working RNF. How are you showing that your lights are on? You've got to stay consistent. Because if I wasn't doing that, Becky would have called someone else. And ignore the negative people. Guys, this is a lesson I have learned and keep learning. Those people around you that are negative, that drag you down, and I still face it. I have gotten really good at unfollowing. You don't have to unfriend, but you can unfollow. If they aggravate you, if they steal your joy, because if you're not feeling joyful, you're not making sales. I can promise you that. If they make those posts, you're like, oh, seriously, unfollow them. They don't even know it. Right? Find an excuse not to be near that person because you're on a mission to spoil the grandbabies or pay the student loans, whatever it is. That's more important than letting that person bring you down. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do now, because next week, Jamie and or Megan are going to come on here and talk about Lead the Way stuff and how they annihilate. They're both Lead the Way 5 achievers, like kill it. I thought I was happy with 3. I had a free Ring doorbell coming my way, but they both get that 5. It's amazing. But what I'm going to ask you, here's your homework for between now and next Wednesday. And we will record all these and put them all in one spot so you guys can go back or share with your teams or whatever from here. I'm going to ask you to make a new list of 100 people. Go through your Facebook. This is the only time I'm allowing you to scroll, you know. So 100 names. And if you can even do so much as write their phone numbers down. Ask for their phone number. Say, I got something to talk to you about. Ask for their phone number if you don't have it. Get yourself 100 names and 100 phone numbers. And then I would recommend 10 a day, at least. Whatever the number is you can be consistent with. If you can do more, do more. If you've got a crazy busy schedule, do 2 a day. As long as you're making some kind of forward progress. And the book that I love for that is The Slight Edge. If you haven't ever read that, that's another one that I would really, really recommend. Making some kind of forward progress every day. No one became a millionaire overnight. No, I didn't become successful overnight. It was a lot of decisions along the way. Decide what your blank a day is going to be and set a time, what it's going to be each day. Or if I've had friends that do it all on Sunday. They block off noon to 3 every Sunday to work their RNF. Or it could be 10 minutes a day, whatever it is for you, but find a time and find yourself an accountability partner to tell about it. Here's my time. Here's what I'm going to get done this week. I have learned even more in the last 2 or 3 months of my life how important that accountability is, even down to what books you're reading. You find an accountability partner that's going to hold you accountable, like, hey, let's get that little red book of selling. I'm going to order on Amazon tomorrow. Let's start it on Monday, and let's try to get it done by the next Monday. See what I'm saying? Like, hold yourself accountable with someone on the books you're reading, how many reach outs you're doing each day or each week. It will make a huge, huge difference. So make your list of 100. We're going to get through those by the end of the month. If you want to start reaching out to people on that list of 100, I would highly recommend it between now and next week, because Jamie and Megan are going to talk to you about Lead the Way and how to really work that system to the best of your and their abilities. Guys, Lead the Way achievers earn 3 times more, and you really get some pretty awesome prizes along the way. So I want to know what your prize is. Be very clear on that and share that with your accountability partner too. Okay? Is this helpful? Okay, I like it. So it's Christmas, not salesman. Okay? So no more slimy, plaid pants, short tie salesman. No, you guys are beautiful salesmen. Own it, love it, go out and sell some skincare and be really proud of what you do, because you represent the #1 skincare in all of North America that really can help people, the business and the products. And aren't you glad that someone talked to you about Rodan & Fields? If you're glad, don't you want a room full of people who are also glad? And the only way you're going to have a room full of people who are also glad is if you open your trap and you have conversations about Rodan & Fields. It's not just going to magically happen. Okay? Okay. Next Wednesday, same time, same place. And Jamie and or Megan will be on here to do it. So get your homework going. This is Reineke. We're assigning homework. All right, guys.
Go to Talk to you soon. And select almost any one item for 50.